Good afternoon or good evening, depending when you're watching this, students. Welcome to our new Wednesday nights, at least for the rest of the semester. I am shooting from my office. I've got great lighting. I've got my bookcase in the background, which makes me look a little bit smarter, which I need as much as that as I can possibly get. But what we're going to be doing on Wednesday afternoons, Wednesday evenings, is I'll be posting a short Devo, and all of my Legends of the Fall team leaders, okay, shout out to the gangsters right now. They will be hosting Zoom calls that I will be sending out on Remind, the times and the IDs for those. Participation will get you points for your team if you're a part of a team. If you're not a part of a team, let me know. We can get you on the team. But I'm going to be posting images leading up to Wednesdays and then leading a short Devo on those and giving you some questions to talk about those, okay? And so I want to remind, too, my leaders, be sure to record your Zoom calls and email me those calls, those videos at justin@mulderchurch.com, all right? So the first image that I want to talk about very quickly is the iceberg. Some of you saw me post an image of an iceberg, and I'm sure a lot of things come to mind when you think of the iceberg. You may think of the Arctic, you may think of global warming, penguins, polar bears, but I would argue most people think of the Titanic, okay? And that's what basically sunk the great Titanic. And there's lots of stories around the Titanic, the people who were on it, the people who survived, the people who didn't. But one story goes like this. The huge and unsinkable ship received 5 iceberg warnings that fateful night of April 14th, 1912, just before it went down. When the 6th message came in during the wee hours of the next morning, "Look out for icebergs," the operator wired back. "Shut up, I'm busy." And these were the last words over the wire before it all happened. Exactly 30 minutes later, the great vessel, the one whose captain said even God couldn't sink this ship, was sinking. Hundreds of passengers and crew were drowned. And what was the problem? The Titanic failed and forgot to see the truth about icebergs. Because when you look at the iceberg, there's so much of it that lies below the surface. There's so much of it that we don't see that plays an enormous role. Okay, and there's just a little bit, maybe only 10 to 20% that our eyes actually see. And this is a principle that applies to so many different areas of our life. It applies to our leadership, but it especially applies to what God wants to do in our lives. Okay, because so much of what lies below the surface, what's inside of us, has everything to do with our character, okay? The way that God wants us to live our lives, the decisions that we need to make, and so much of what we see at the surface, especially with other people, is we see their skills, we see their abilities, we see just how they are so insanely talented, and we tend to be drawn to those things, and we neglect the things that cannot be seen. And that's the error that the Titanic made, is that it was unable, and it erred in neglecting that which it could not see, and it led to its demise. And so there's so many people out there, as they begin to neglect their character, when they begin to neglect the way that God wants them to live, and they focus on the outward things, it can begin to lead to their destruction. And so Jesus says something to this effect in Luke 6, starting in verse 43. He says this. He says, "No good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. People do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briners. Good people bring good things out of the good stored up in their heart, and evil people bring evil things out of the evil stored up in their heart. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." And so reading this passage, you see it's loaded with significance, okay? Whatever is happening on the outside, okay, is a result of what's happening inside, okay? We see the fruit, we know what kind of fruit it is, but the outside is a reflection of what is happening inside, what is happening below the surface. Okay, so here's a few questions for you to talk about in your groups. The first question is this, okay? Why is focusing on the inside so difficult for us today? Like, why is that a problem? Why is it so hard to look on the inside? Okay, and just the opposite. The next question is, why do we put so much emphasis on the outside of our lives? Like, why is it so easy to pay attention to the outside and not the inside? And the last question is this. Look at verse 45. Okay, look at verse 45. Some translations use the word treasure, but the good fruit literally means deposit. Okay, what does the word deposit mean to you? What does it mean to you as you are depositing into your life? And I want you in your groups to try to put this verse into your own words. Okay, how does this verse apply to you and how you are investing in your own character, investing in what lies below and on the inside? So be sure to record your calls, send them to me. I look forward to checking those out. Have a good day. See ya.